So there's a referendum coming up, and you're going to face a very simple choice, yes or no. But here's the thing. The question behind that vote is anything but simple. A single vote is going to decide the fate of not one, not two, but 84 different constitutional reforms. So what are you really voting on? Let's break it all down. Okay, let's dive straight into the heart of the matter, the thing that makes this vote so incredibly unique and, let's be honest, kind of confusing. It's one single vote for a whole mountain of questions. That's right, 84. Your one yes or no applies to all 84 proposed reforms at the same time. There's no picking and choosing here. You can't say, oh, I like the term limits, but I'm not sure about the parliament changes. Nope, it is an all or nothing package deal. Now, to put this in perspective, this is totally different from most referendums we're used to. Think about Brexit over in the UK. That was one clear question, stay or leave. Even back in 1991, Bangladesh had a referendum on a single focused choice about the system of government. Bundling 84 different issues into one vote, well, that presents a really complex challenge for every single person heading to the polls. So, to be super clear, you're not just voting on some abstract idea. You're voting on an actual document called the July Charter or July Show Note. This paper is the final collection of all 84 of those proposed reforms. So when you cast your ballot, a yes means you approve the entire charter, and a no means you reject the whole shebang. All right, now that we know how we're voting, let's get into the good stuff. What's actually inside this charter? And of all the 84 points, the biggest, most game-changing proposal is, without a doubt, the plan to completely restructure Parliament. The plan is to introduce what's called a bicameral parliament. It's a fancy term, but it just means a system with two houses instead of one. The lower house would work pretty much like our parliament does today, with MPs elected in their local areas. But the new upper house, or Senate, oh, that's where things get really, really interesting. Its members would be chosen based on the total nationwide popular vote. Let's walk through a little example to see what that actually means in practice. Okay, just imagine a tiny little election. We've got three parties. Let's call them Party A, B, and C. And there are just 3 seats up for grabs, with 200,000 people voting in total. So after the election, under the current system, which would become the new lower house, let's say Party A wins 2 of the 3 seats. Great, they have the majority, so they get to form the government. The leader of Party A becomes the prime minister. So far, this all sounds pretty familiar, right? But here comes the twist. Let's look at the total number of individual votes that were cast. Even though Party A won more seats, if you add up every single vote from all 3 areas, Party B actually got more votes from the people overall. 90,000 votes to Party A's 82,000. And this is where that new upper house changes everything. Since Party B won the popular vote, they get the majority of seats in the Senate. This creates this really wild scenario. The party that won the election and formed the government controls the lower house, but the party that technically lost the election gets to control the upper house. So what's the point of all this? Well, here's the crucial part. For any bill to become law, it has to pass in both houses. This basically forces the government to negotiate and find compromises with the opposition in the upper house. It's designed to be a powerful check, a brake system to prevent any single party from getting way too much power. A 2-house parliament is a massive change, for sure, but the charter goes much, much further. It also proposes some major changes to the country's highest offices and even some of our fundamental rights. Okay, let's take the president, for example. The role would be totally transformed from mostly ceremonial to one with real substance. They would have to be nonpartisan, not tied to any political party, and would gain actual authority, like appointing the heads of independent bodies. At the same time, their power would also be checked. For instance, the ability to pardon criminals would be seriously restricted, requiring consent from the victim's family. That's a huge shift. And what about the prime minister? 2 massive reforms are on the table. First, a strict 2-term limit, capping anyone's time in office at 10 years total. And second, the PM would be barred from being the head of their political party at the same time. The goal here is to create a separation between running the government and running a party, trying to reduce political influence over state affairs. The charter also redefines some big ideas about national identity and rights. It proposes a shift from the ethnic term, Bengali, to the more inclusive civic identity of Bangladeshi for all citizens. It also aims to officially recognize all 30-plus mother tongues in the country, a huge step for linguistic diversity. And finally, it wants to boost female representation by nearly doubling the number of reserved seats for women in parliament to 100. So all of these proposals sound pretty significant on paper. But that brings us to a really crucial question, one that goes way beyond the text of any law. What happens when these ideas meet the real world? This whole dilemma is perfectly captured by a real-world example. There's a stretch of road in Dhaka that was legally declared a horn-free zone. Signs went up, the law was official, but in reality, people honked there more than ever. The law on paper was perfect, but it didn't change a single thing on the ground. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Your vote will help decide the laws of the country. But as that horn-free zone shows, the real challenge isn't just about writing good laws. It's about implementation, it's about culture, and it's about whether society's actually ready to live by them. And that is the question that's going to remain long after all the votes are counted.